Hello everybody, Vergosity here. Thank you for stopping by for some Minecraft Redstone basics. Today guys, we are looking at all sorts of Minecraft clocks. We've got slow clocks, we've got fast clocks, we've got small clocks, we've got tall clocks, we've got lots and lots of clocks that are made out of blocks. Let's check them out. Alright guys, the first one is a very simple one, the torch burnout clock. What we've got going on here is just a little circuit that's going to oscillate around. Right now this block is powered because we have this lever on here. When we turn the lever off, it's going to allow this redstone torch to power, which will power this block, which will power this redstone dust, which will power this block, which will unpower the redstone torch, and unpower the block, unpower the dust, and the signal will oscillate around. Now the only one with this is the signal oscillates so fast the redstone torch can't handle it, so it's only going to go for 7 flashes before it turns itself off again and you have to reset the mechanism. But this is great for a little alarm system if you just wanted to have a few dings when something went off, but let's check it out. There you go, and then if you want to redo it, you just kind of have to reset it and start it again. And this one is super easy to build, guys. It's literally just a block with a torch and a block back on top of that and a piece of redstone dust right there, and there's your circuit all complete. And if you put the lever on here, and then you flick it down and flick it back off, you'll be able to start the signal again. So if you like that speed of clock, we can actually keep it going here by just putting another torch on the same block off to the side here. And now when one torch is burned out, the other one will be on, and that one will flash for a little bit and burn out, and then the other one will flip back on. So if you sit here for a second and watch it, yep, you can see this one's on, that one burns out, this one burns out, and that one turns back on. But regardless of that, they are giving a continuous output to this note block over here. Okay guys, the repeater torch clock works on the same type of principle as the first clocks do there, the torch burnout clocks, but we don't want it to burn out now, we want it to be going steady. So what we do is we add a little bit of delay into it. So what happens here when we unpower this block, again now this torch is going to power, which is going to send signal into this block, but now it's going to run back through the repeater and there's going to be a little bit of delay based on how many ticks we have on this repeater right here. It'll then power this block, which will power this torch, and the signal will oscillate around again and again. So you can see, there we go, and as we add another tick of delay, slows it down a little bit more, and one more tick, slows it down even just a little bit more. And this one is really easy to build. It's just a block with a redstone torch coming off the front with a block on top of that redstone torch, and a repeater facing back towards the front of the clock with a piece of redstone dust down there and a block on top of that. Now if you're going to see right here guys, if this repeater is set on 1 tick, it's going to oscillate too fast, just like it did with the torch burnout clock. So we want to make sure that's at least on 2 ticks, and then you can go ahead and start the clock, and it'll run steadily now. Now this is a vertical version of it, but we can also make a flat version of it right here by putting it in this formation. Same kind of idea. The redstone torch will power once we depower this block, and the signal will flow through this repeater, and then back through this other repeater, and into this block here. So if we turn it on, we'll be able to see the signal flow, and the more ticks we have on the repeaters, the slower and slower the clock is going to be. We can stack up that vertical one and add some more repeaters into this kind of formation. So these repeaters flow this direction, and then it flows up around here, and into this repeater up here, and then we have the torch off the top here, and this torch will interact with this redstone dust down here. So if we flick this on, you're going to see it's definitely getting to be a slower clock because we're getting more and more repeaters. And we can continue this one with the flat one the same way by adding more repeaters. We'll turn it on, see the power is going to flow around there, tick the clock back, depower the torch, so everything's going to go off, and we're starting to get some nice long clocks here. We can use comparators to make a clock if we set the comparator into subtraction mode. So when you normally put down a comparator, it comes down like this, but if you click on it, it turns into subtraction mode. And then if we turn on this power right here, we're going to see the power is going to flow around here, back to this way, back into this comparator. I'm not 100% sure why this one works, but it's very cheap and very effective. To build this one, you just drop down a comparator, put it into subtract mode, run a little bit of redstone dust down and around, with the repeater going back like this, and take one more piece of dust, put it right there, and give it some power, and there you go, you got your clock. And again, you can make this clock longer by increasing the amount of delay in the repeaters, and you can also add more repeaters to it. If you take a look at this here, we've just got some more repeaters, so it's going to take a lot longer for the signal to flow around, and we're going to get a slower clock. Next up, we're going to do some clocks with hoppers. Now these hoppers are facing into each other and there's one item in it. So when we unlock this hopper, that item is just going to bounce back and forth. And every time it hits this side over here, it's going to give an output into this comparator. There you go. You can see the one item just kind of going back and forth and back and forth. And every time it hits there, it gives us the signal. Now we can use some more hoppers to have some fun here. We can send one item around in a whole bunch of hoppers. Each one of the hoppers that we want to pull the signal out of has the comparator to it. And there's that one item. There it goes again. It just keeps flowing around until you lock one of the hoppers, and then it'll end up being stuck right there. The Etho hopper clock is up next, guys. This will have a link down in the description if you want to know a little bit more about it. Basically, we've got two hoppers that are going to be firing into each other, but we've got more items. So it's going to take a little bit longer for the items to flow back and forth. The more items we put in there, the slower and slower the clock is going to be. So the 9 items don't take too long to flow back and forth right now. And there, you can see every time it comes over to this side, it grabs itself a little signal and gives us an output right over there in that note block. All right, let's build this one up, and this one is 1 wide and 2 high, but we're going to do one that's only 1 tall and 2 wide. Depending on where you need to fit it, you might need a different arrangement. So drop down a hopper, and then shift-click into that hopper to put that one, break out the first one, and shift-click, put that one down so they are facing into each other. Take a comparator, put a comparator out of the back of each side of those hoppers with a block right there. Grab yourself a sticky piston, and they're going to go right next to the comparators. You're going to put a piece of redstone dust right behind each one of those sticky pistons, and you're going to drop your redstone block right in the middle. Then grab yourself a whatever items you want, however many you want, throw it right in, and you can see it's going to instantly start working and moving for us. Just like that. Now there's a cousin to this one, and that is basically the Seth Bling hopper clock. Basically, we've got a whole bunch of items that are going to flow around these hoppers like this, and each time they're in a hopper, the comparator is going to pick up a signal and is going to lock one of the different hoppers. I don't know 100% how this one works. Please check out Seth Bling's video if you want to see some more. The link will be down in the description for the video. But if we just turned it on, you can see very simply that the signal flows around in a clockwise pattern here. That's because we have the hoppers flowing in a specific direction there. You want to make sure that they're flowing into the proper hoppers, which in this case would be in a clockwise pattern. And if we just sit here, you can see the items come flowing in, and then they flow out, and then they move to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So this is going to be a nice long clock if you want a nice long hopper clock. Let's look at some observer clocks. These guys are very fast and very simple to build, and I've kind of just got a few examples of basically the same thing. So the observer here, when we turn off this lever, it's going to recognize this redstone dust being unpowered, and because of that, it's going to send a signal through it into this redstone dust. Well, this redstone dust is going to be unpowered, but this one will be powered, and it'll send the signal back around in front of the observer. The observer will be like, oh man, that's powered again, and it will send a signal back around, and watch it loop, watch it loop. Super fast, super quick, super cheap. Now we can do a little bit more with that and get a little more complicated and put 2 observers into each other, giving us a nice output like that. And this one is very easy to stop and start. And this is probably about the easiest thing in the world to build up. You just take an observer and you face it into another observer, and you get the signal right out of the back of either one of the observers. And we can use a piston to do the same kind of thing here. When we turn off this lever, this piston's going to drop down. This observer is going to see this redstone dust here and power it, which will power this block, which will push the piston back up. But now that the piston is up and this block is depowered, the piston's going to come back down. What happens when the piston comes down is this observer is going to trigger that redstone dust. Boom. Now, if you like this idea, but you want a little bit longer of a delay in the clock, you can add a repeater into it. So let's set it on 1 tick, and you can see it flows at about the same rate then, but the more ticks we put on this repeater, the slower the signal is going to flow back around into the piston, and it's going to take longer to repower it each time, which in turn is going to take longer for the observer to send its signal back out. So, a little bit longer, but same kind of principle. The 20 hertz clock is the fastest clock you can get in Minecraft, as far as I know anyways. Again, some of my redstone knowledge isn't as good as somebody else's, but this is really, really fast. The only reason I think you would ever build this is just to make a lot of noise. I don't know what else it could possibly trigger fast enough, but yeah, we get the power flowing around these repeaters super quick, and then out each one of these inputs, which in turn powers this individually. Now it looks like it's on all the time because visually it doesn't turn on and off fast enough. That's why we have the note block up here. And you can see just how fast it's going in here, just how fast it's actually going. Next up, guys, we have a despawn clock, and it's currently off right now, but we have a whole bunch of items in this dropper. What happens when we power it is this dropper is going to spit an item onto that pressure plate, giving us a signal. Now what happens is every time that item despawns, it's going to pop out another item and put it on that pressure plate. And we're simulating this just by simply picking up the items, but if you left it there for 5 minutes, they would despawn and it would spit out another one, and you've got basically a really, really long clock here. Okay, now we get into some other clocks here. This one's also observer-based, but it's going to use some water to trigger the observer, because you know what? Why not? We're going to hit this. It's going to send some water out. That water's going to hit the observer, and the observer's going to pick up the signal and send it around here with a little bit of a delay, and it's going to click on this water bucket, cause it to pick it up. Then the water stream is going to go away. The observer will be like, oh shoot, the water's gone. It'll send the signal back around, and the dropper will spit out the water once again, going back and forth just like that. Now, there's more ways to use these kind of mechanics right here. And here we've got some lava. We click this button here, it's going to spit out the lava. The observer is going to recognize it, send a signal up to the dispenser here, which is going to pick it up. Then as the lava leaves, the observer is going to realize that again, send a signal to the dispenser, and it will spit the lava back out. And we get a nice little cycle there of spitting lava back and forth. Interesting, isn't it? And here's the tall clock that I promised. Same kind of thing with the lava, but because it's got much more distance now, it's going to take a lot longer for the lava to flow down. But same kind of principle, though. It's going to hit the observer, send the signal up. The dispenser is going to pick up the lava. It's going to flow all the way down. The observer is going to realize lava's gone, send the signal back up through it, and spit its lava back out of the dispenser. Now, if you do this one, make sure you have a little opening down here for the lava to flow into, and make sure you enclose the top. Otherwise, the lava is going to spread out and go everywhere, and really don't want to be responsible for that. Alright guys, next up is a very cute random clock. We actually have a cute clock. See little bunnies hiding in there? These little bunnies are going to hop on that pressure plate, and every time they do, they're going to cause a signal to go through. But, because they're two bunnies, you have no idea when it's going to happen. There's no rhyme or reason to how they hop around, so just every now and then, you're going to get a signal to go off. If you wanted the signal to go off a little bit more, you could throw some more bunnies in there, or add some more pressure plates, or even put a bigger animal with a bigger hitbox that would step on it more often. But yeah, that's the cutest clock, isn't it? Come on, give me one more little hop on there, buddy. One more little hop. Hop, hop, up. Hop up there. There we go. Alright guys, one more little observer-based clock here, and there's a reason for doing this one. You will see in just a second, but this is basically, I'm calling it a leaf clock. Whenever you push or pull a wood log into a leaf block, an observer will pick up a signal. So we're just going to basically pull this wood block back. The observer is going to recognize that and then send a signal down to the thing to power the piston, and the piston is going to push the wood block back into the leaf block, and the observer will recognize that. So just like that, you can see how it happens every other time. And there's a very good reason we did this. This last one's not necessarily a clock, but this is fun. Found this when I was playing around here. We've got these leaf blocks all in the inside there. We've got 6 of them all the way up, which is the most signal strength that can go through there. And we've completely surrounded them by observers and then put pistons on the outside. So what happens is when we pull this leaf block away, we're going to send the signal through the observer. It's going to come back down into here, and we're going to get that same kind of oscillation action we had there. But all these other observers are going to trigger every single time it happens. So yeah, I don't know what this is useful for, other than just really trying to annoy people and make just a ton of noise. But I just think it's so neat. I just think it's so neat and pretty fun, and, you know, a good way to finish up the video. Guys, thanks for stopping by and checking out this Redstone Basics video where we did lots and lots of Minecraft clocks. Guys, if you enjoyed this, over on the channel there's plenty of tutorials and playlists from a couple different servers that I do, so if you want to see anything else in the future, I'd hit subscribe and click that bell. And you'll always know as soon as I put a new episode out. You guys have a great day, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.